The real currency you don't have is time. Money is much more variable.
Hey, David. We discussed something the other day and I really wanted to hear you about it. So you told me something like the world is going so fast these days, people don't even realize it. But not at all. Like, I was wondering, what exactly do you mean by that? And I wanted to hear you about it.
Yeah. So what I would say, so it's all about the perspective, the angle you take to approach the subject of change and speed of change. So if I compare myself, other people compare themselves to the best in class, you take the Elon Musks of the world, the Jeff Bezos, all those companies that appeared and grew. Regular people like you and me, people watching, we're all 5, 10, 20 years behind the times of the people who are best in class and the companies that are best in class. So they've seen the potential, the opportunity. They moved forward. They seized those opportunities. They saw the change that was coming or the change they could bring about. So they're in sync with the times. Everybody else is 5, 10, 20 years behind the times. So, if I want to try to have a ballpark, it's 90% of people don't really understand the current speed of change. Because if they did understand the speed of change, they would have seized one of these opportunities, which they haven't. And that percentage is also connected to the, if you look at new technology adoption, so your early adopters, that's about 2.5, 3%. So 3% of people who understand or a bit more in sync with the times, seizing opportunities, and 97% of people that are lagging behind. Are they 5 years behind, 10 years, 20 years? Depends on the person.
Yeah, so they just let the other ones kind of test it, see what those changes can be, what those innovations are, and then they just kind of follow. But that's kind of interesting because this is for people, but you can kind of translate that for companies as well. So this is what happens too, right?
So exactly. Well, if you take the sum of people, in an organization and the culture that's brought about by the sum of the people and the processes in the company. So you have companies that are in their mindsets, in the way they approach things. Very few companies are in sync with the times, like very, very few. Most are going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years behind the times. So that does apply to organizations as well. And how do I know that most people don't understand how fast the world is changing? I'm going to say is, if you're watching this video, you probably haven't had the conversation that we're going to have with your employees, with your peers. And I'm including in that executives, not in sync with the times, managers, employees. If you haven't had this conversation with your teams, you're lagging behind a couple of years, if not many years, behind the best in class.
Okay, so what should they do? What is the best practice here to kind of stay aligned with the changes?
Great. So if the issue is we don't understand how fast things are going, so how do we get to a proper understanding of how fast things are going? So here I'm going to use 2 analogies. So if you've ever drove in a Tesla and you press on the accelerator, when you're in the car, you can feel the G's. So you can feel that acceleration. So you're in the car, you're really feeling it. If you're outside the car, you see the Tesla drive by, you're going to say, oh, wow, that car is going fast. Oh, man, have you seen that car? It's not the same feeling. You're observing the cars going fast, but you're not feeling it. So you can see these, Facebook, Google passing you on the highway, Tesla, TikTok, whatever. Oh, and wow, they're going fast. But there's a big difference between seeing them go fast and being in the car and feeling how fast it's going. Same thing if you're watching a sport event. There's a big difference between, oh, wow, have you seen that play? Have you seen that dunk? Have you seen that touchdown? Wow, what a play. And being on the field and scoring some points and say, okay, guys, what's next? What's next? If you're just observing, you're a spectator, you're in the stands, versus being on the field. So you truly understand how fast things are going when you have that feeling of being on the field playing being in the car, feeling the G's. Okay. So that's going to be a challenge today, is if we can get people to feel that speed and not just be a spectator to it.
But then that means people kind of need to have this mindset shift of, okay, let's stop watching, let's start doing.
Yes.
But I'm going to challenge you on that though, because doing so means you need to take the time to kind of understand it and study it and analyze how you can kind of be part of the play and be on the field. So, but that costs time. So is it worth it? And what would you say to those companies telling you, well, I don't have the time to...
And you're completely right. So the way you're going to feel it is if you're able to take one action that is in sync with the times. And here's how I would frame it. So every department in every company, and that also applies to organizations, governments, nonprofits, etc. But so in every department, in every company, there are dozens of things that can be done 10 times faster for 1/10 of the cost. So 10 times faster at 1/10 of the cost. The challenge is finding that first one or the first couple of things, and then making that conversion. Once you've taken action, then you're going to be more in the car, you're going to be in the field, and you're no longer going to be a spectator. And I'm going to give you one example.
Yeah, I was going to ask just that. Give me examples.
So this studio is an example. So before we built our little podcast studio, we had done a video with a little company, very, very humble beginnings. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to throw in some numbers just to give a ballpark idea. So let's say we did a video with a company and the cost was $5,000. But then there's also the cost of preparation and everybody who participated to the shoot. So let's say we spent, 60 hours prepping, participating, etc. So let's say the total cost of the video is $12,000.
Yeah.
Setting up this studio cost us $12,000. Now, working with a firm, making videos, so the total cost is $12,000. I only have one video, and it took us weeks of preparation. So the lead time is many, many weeks. And then there's the total cost with time and money. This studio, we have an idea, we want to talk. We come in studio, we take 1 hour, it's recorded, it's done. We give him to some editors, we do some operations. So we can do 10 times more videos at 1/10 of the cost. Or we can make one video more than 10 times faster at 1/10 of the cost. Mm-hmm. So that's one example. What's the equivalent for your sales team? What's the equivalent for your customer service team? If you're managing portals for partners, for distributors, for customers, what's the equivalent for your partner management team or your community management team? For your marketing team? What about integration between systems of your company to integrate departments together? But there are in every department dozens of things that can be done 10 times faster at 1/10 of the cost.
That's it. And I guess that more and more companies kind of realize that. And so they start to really invest in that digital acceleration and kind of automate everything that was done manually. It won't be done manually anymore. And then all the time that you spend on putting this in place will get you more time in the long run, right?
Exactly. And I like that you're talking about time, because so people say, well, time is money. No, time is money is a lie. Here's why. Time is money is a lie because the currency you don't have is time and the variable is money. There's many ways to get more budget. You can get more budget internally. You can get a loan. The big banks are printing money. There's many, many ways to get more money. But as an individual, a professional, an employee, a manager, there's only 24 hours in a day. So the currency that is not flexible is the time that you have. Now you might say, well, I can make time by hiring more people. Well, in today's job market, try to hire a large volume of talented and high-skilled people that you can ramp up by snapping your fingers.
Good luck.
It doesn't work, no. Right? So even if you were able to hire in high volume good people, you'd have to automate the training of those people. So again, time is worth more than money right now because it's easier to find money than to find time.
So time nowadays is more valuable than money. Wow. It's true.
Even at an individual level, sooner or later you're going to die because you're going to run out of time. You cannot buy that, but there's ways to make money. But at some point, doesn't matter how much money you have, you're going to expire. So even if we remove ourselves from the business world, the real currency you don't have is time. Money is much more valuable.
Right. So now the right question you're supposed to ask yourself then, based on what you just said, is not how can I save money? It's like, how can I save time? Yes. And so digital acceleration is the key of that, right? And automation.
And you can even say, how can I make time? If you put in place an automation, then all the time that was spent doing that manually, you just made time, you manufactured time. So if I put in an automation for a sales team of 10 people and it saves them 1 hour per week, so that's 10 hours per week times, let's say 48 weeks, they have 4 weeks vacation. So, I mean, I'm doing live math here, that's not good. So at 10 hours per week, I've got 10 people, that's 10 hours, 48 times, so 480 hours. So if I invested 100 hours to put in place that automation, my ROI within a year is I manufactured 380 hours. And then what if my team doubles? Well, the next year I'm going to save, what's that? Whatever, 800, 900 hours, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
If you have 100 salespeople, 1,000 salespeople, you just multiply it. So that's how you make time, which is the currency you don't have. And it's the only way to make that happen. Money, there's ways to find money.
Mm-hmm. But not many ways to create time, time. And we're talking about like acceleration, how everything goes fast, the speed of things. I feel sometimes that everything becomes some kind of race as well, right? So if I'm a company and I want to create more time, save more time, because this is the real value, this is the valuable asset here, time. But my competitor is ahead of me because they did that mindset shift already and they understood that before me. So they are ahead of me and because they're ahead of time because they created time before. And so they have as many resources as I do, but they have automations in place and systems in place, procedures. And so they're way better than I am, right?
So here there's no magic wand. The key is always start with something. Start with something, identify, and I would say within your teams or with your colleagues, first have this discussion about time. Identify tasks that you think you could automate or that your teams think could be automated or done away with. And, even if you have the right platform, all these automation ideas, they're not going to fall from the sky.
No.
It actually takes some time to bathe into those platforms, those tools to say, hey, wait a minute. Okay, so let's do an easy, obvious ones. Let's say generating sales contracts with electronic signatures instead of fax and PDF or whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's an easy one, electronic signature. The other ones, it might take you a while to figure them out. So bathe into the process, experiment things, get input and feedback from your team, let their creativity come up. And then, yes, you might, find the next one and the next one and the next one. And one thing I want to say, to not be a pessimist based on what you mentioned. So, oh no, bad news, everybody watching. In your head, you're like 10, 15. I'm going to say on average, if you're watching this, you might be 10 to 15 years behind the times. Okay. I estimate that myself, I'm maybe 5 years behind the times.
Oh, good for you.
But wow, David, but bad news, I'm 15 years behind the times. Yes, you are. But it's not bad news because if you can start understanding how fast the world is going in a way that you feel it and that from that feeling you take action, right? Because it's from feeling that you take action and not platonic understanding, right? You're not watching Teslas go by on the highway. You're not watching Amazon, Facebook go by on the highway. You're actually starting to feel right 10 times faster, 1/10 of the cost. Well, then you're going to leap. You're going to go in an instant from 15 years behind the times in your mindset to maybe, now I'm only 10 years behind the times in your mindset. And even if some competitors are ahead of you, others are behind you.
That's
So have this conversation internally with your team, so everybody starts to have a grasp of not how late they are, but the opportunities ahead of them. 10 times faster, 1/10 of the cost. Every department in most companies, dozens of things, 10 times faster, 1/10 of the cost.
And it's a good chance to kind of involve your team in this process, because everybody can have great ideas. And since they are the ones working, they know for sure how things could be improved and where their priority relies, where we could save time. So this is a good opportunity for, let's say, a leader to kind of involve his team and figure out how we can improve, right?
Absolutely. Bottom up. Get ideas, get feedback, test them. You can have different people testing different things at the same time. Absolutely.
Great. Well, this was a good discussion. Thanks a lot, David.
All right. Talk to you soon.